Okay, at 5:30 p.m. We will call the meeting to order. We can start with pledge of allegiance. Flags in the rear of the room. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have just go over our meeting guidelines and safety protocol. Let's see, we're picking up audio, okay? About that sometimes. Purpose of the meeting is for the board to conduct board meetings. The board is open to the public and being recorded. You can listen to all past board meetings by visiting board docs through our district website. This meeting is being presented via Zoom. We want to remind audience members, not appropriate to interrupt board business or ask questions during the meeting. Agenda items will be addressed as listed in the agenda. And we do have a portion of the meeting that is dedicated for public comment. So in the case of an emergency, please exit the room using the exit closest to you. So with that, we will move along to our vision and mission statements. Director Rocco, would you care to share our vision and mission statement?
Sure. Our vision is our community inspires and prepares each student to thrive. Our mission is in connection with our community. The Sequim School District empowers staff to inspire hope and provide flexible, innovative learning opportunities in a safe and respectful environment so each student thrives.
Thank you. Director Hodgson, would you care to share our land acknowledgement?
The Sequim School District administrative and school buildings sit on the ancestral land of the S'Klallam people. While the S'Klallam traditionally come from one nation, history has led to the formation of three sovereign S'Klallam tribal governments. Lower Elwha S'Klallam tribe, located in Port Angeles, Washington; Jamestown S'Klallam tribe, located in Sequim, Washington; Port Gamble S'Klallam tribe, located in Kingston, Washington. The district's primary partnership is with the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe. Today, the tribe and district share a partnership that includes official consultation on program and funding changes that may directly affect American Indian and Alaska Native students, as well as holistic service planning for students to remain successful in their educational journeys.
Great, thank you. And do want to point out that the actual work, of course, that we do that isn't necessarily the reading of that land acknowledgement. It's actually the work that's done at the district level, which is the official consultation on program funding changes, how we support students. I think it's always important to point out that even though we read certain acknowledgements, it's really about the work that's behind the acknowledgements, not just the fact that we're reading. So sometimes things can feel routine, but I think it's important to point out it's the work that matters. So with that, we have our approval of our minutes from August 7th, approval of our agenda, and approval of our consent agenda. And I do have one modification to the agenda that I'd like to add for the board to consider, and that would be to add an item so we could discuss the date of the next scheduled meeting, which is September 5th. And so we could just add that as an item just for discussion for September 5th. So without objection, or is there any objection to the approval of the August 7th minutes, the agenda as modified, and the consent agenda? Hearing none, we will consider those approved. Thank you very much. And that will move us along to our 5.0. We have our public comment portion of the meeting. And we'll go ahead and give some parameters on public comment. Just a moment. You have the signups there. And so we do have the availability for both public comment, both virtually through Zoom as well as in person. And the total time for public comment period is 30 minutes. And we have the clipboard for folks to sign up, and also if you are attending the meeting virtually, we have more folks that have joined virtually. Okay, so if you would like to speak for public comment virtually, please do so using the raise hand icon on the Zoom platform. You can go ahead and do that now. That way Tracy can capture your name and we can put you in the queue. And do want to remind folks that each speaker does have a maximum of 3 minutes for a public comment. And do also want to share public comment period is not a time necessarily for dialogue between the board and the public. The board will not respond to statements, questions, or challenges made during public comment period. And there is no back and forth dialogue. Please know that the board's silence is neutral. It is neither a signal of agreement or disagreement with the speaker's remarks. And although the board will not engage in dialogue, the board chair might ask a speaker a clarifying question. It is also possible that the school district staff will contact the speaker at a later time to provide follow-up on an issue that was raised during public comment. Finally, please do remember that your words have impact and you, not the school district, is responsible for your words. We caution all speakers that it is possible that your statements could violate the rights of others under various laws, including laws protecting privacy and laws prohibiting defamation. If you are unsure of the legal effect of your remarks, you should seek independent legal advice. In any case, we do ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. And with that, we will go to our first public comment sign up, which looks like Nicole. We have Nicole here. Hi.
Hi. Hello, my name is Nicole Brewer, and I am the current president of the Swim Women's Soccer Booster Club. We sent a letter this morning to all of you. And at that point in time, we also had 112 signatures along with that letter. Just before the meeting started here, we checked and we have 136 now, and that number is growing. This is in regards to our student soccer athletes and practice space. We did receive a response by Principal Erin Fox, and we look forward to discussing with her. And I understood the superintendent was going to be involved in that, as well as the coaches. Looking for some resolution here. To be clear of our concerns, I just want to recap it for everybody to be aware of. Currently, our women soccer athletes are training at the city fields. That's 1.2 miles away. Think of the logistic and safety concerns of getting a young woman from school 1.2 miles away. They're walking or they're riding with inexperienced drivers. In a nutshell, you can think of other things that might be concerns with that. The city fields have a growing community interest in soccer, in the sport, which means more and more athletes in soccer are using the facility. And it's limiting the space available for everyone that uses it. With that growth, then we're actually reduced on the amount of time that we're allowed to use the space. The city has granted the soccer team 1.5 hours. It's just not enough. We are consuming community resources to do that when in actuality there is school district space. And it is the school's responsibility to provide adequate and safe space to train and practice on. So that brings us to the availability of space here. First, we look at the fields that are to the north of the school campus here that actually have soccer goals on them. But in recent years, a greenhouse has been built. That's a space that has been earmarked for the CTE building. There's weeds, bumps, lumps, all these different things that, yeah, they're greener now, which we know that irrigation works, but it's unsafe conditions to practice them. In addition, there is the field that we actually play games on that I know football also plays their games on. And it's my understanding that right now, no student athletes are allowed to use that space. We have never been able to practice on that space except for during summer training. We have no home field advantage because there's a range of spaces, sizes of fields. And so it really does limit us on what we're able to do and our knowledge of our home turf, if that makes any sense. So in a nutshell, we are really looking at the athletic facilities, how they continue to decline, and our interest in our student soccer athletes having a safe and equitable place to train.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If that's something you're involved in, you can kind of keep us up to speed with that. Okay. All right, next is it Brady? Brady? Oh, okay. Didn't want. Jim Stock?
Craig works at the Boise Grove, so does great work there.
Awesome.
Good evening, Board Superintendent Jim Stoffer, Sequim School District Public School Advocate. Two items tonight. One, I appreciate the budget presentation last year or last meeting, and I see Darlene's not here, but I know that a lot of cabinet work involved in that, and then superintendent work now lies to the board here. To approve or disapprove it, but I think it's very thorough. There's a lot of work involved in there. Board has had training with WASDA on school budgets and finances, and so I support that budget and urge a vote of that approval. Next, legislative process is coming up fast. The train has left the station. Last meeting, you confirmed Director Jeffrey's position as the voting rep for you. Pretty sure he's confident Larry is doing his due diligence in that work. Now, last year I gave you this as your homework, except for Mike. I don't know if Larry's going to do that all for you, but this is last year's work. But he had last meeting told you he was assigning you homework, so he needs your help so that he can do his due diligence at that WASDA General Assembly, which is the 2nd, 23rd of September. So I would urge you to do the homework that Larry assigned you and help him support the needs, advocate for the needs of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, and I believe that is all we have. Did we have anyone use the raise hand icon? Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody else wishing to make public comment? Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close that portion of the meeting. And we're moving past our student board representatives. I believe we'll be starting our student board representatives at the next meeting, right?
Yes, they will join.
Excellent. And that's going to bring us to 7.01. We have a capital projects update with Chris.
Chris is with us tonight.
It's been a while. Welcome.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I think this is the first meeting in a year that I've been able to make it in person, so I'm happy to be here. And give a presentation for what's been going on here and on the schools with the levy.
Will the bar pull it down, the side, the bar on the side, should just pull it down?
Get that started.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm waiting for him to say go.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you, you're waiting for me, let's get going. All right, so regards to, we have a number of projects that are currently going on throughout the summer. I reported on them last month in June, but I wanted to give an update to that. We're For the high school, we have the roof replacements are starting actually this month. We originally were gonna be starting them at the beginning of August and around the 15th. But what we found were some issues with the underlayment materials that we had to order new materials that were unexpected. And so it pushed back the start for each of them. If you can see in the center photo right now, a stair scaffold was constructed last week for the gym. And that gym floor replacement will be starting on Wednesday. They'll be ripping off the roofing and replacing that material over the next couple of weeks with an anticipated completion around September 18th. Not 18th, September 8th. After the Labor Day holiday, all the work they're gonna be working on is metal and such around the building, so it'll still be occupiable and the classes will be still allowed to be happening without any concerns to the students. In fact, I'd be shocked if their yelling doesn't overpower the screw guns that are gonna be used up on the roof. On the cafeteria, that is where the other company is going to be starting. The cafeteria is supposed to start on the 28th, and they're going to be completed by the end of that week. They will be working on the auditorium the week of the 4th. However, the week starting with Labor Day, they'll be working on that off hours and or around the work for the students. They will be working off of ladders and in packing out every day, so there'll be no materials lying around for potential under risk. I put up here in the top right corner, just in case, that's the perimeter, which is a potential fall hazard zone. It's always a safe practice within roofing work. Anything that ever got dropped, it slides down hills. Please be aware of that if you're working around that, even if you're walking around the campus before school starts, just to be safe of it. You don't want to be rolling underneath when anything on the roof is rolling off, which we don't expect, but that's just best practices. If we go to the next slide. Gym floor replacements going along strong. The floor has been completely installed. The bleachers have been put back in place. The floor has been sanded in preparation for sealant. Sealant is going in tomorrow. The auxiliary gym where the water damage was done has been repaired and sealed, so that's waiting for cure, and that'll be put back in the cove base will be put back in, and then that'll be opened up completely. Be completely finished. And then the gym floor is currently in final works to be completed, anticipated around 30th of August. With probably a little bit of trim work and some work going into the next week. There is currently materials lying around the job site that is from the demolition and or materials that are supposed to be reinstalled. And so we've asked the contractor to pick that stuff up and make sure that's all clear and out of the way. And it will go behind security in case there's any need during after the school starts on the fit. Right now, we currently have the design that is the slight update to the design that's going to go into the center logo that's in the center here with the wolf. Although the font is going to be slightly different based on the voting that was done. It will be the purple lettering with the gold border as well as that wolf going into the new center logo of the ball courts. Other projects we've got going on don't have great photos for when you're installing cabling, so I didn't add a slide to it, but we have wireless access points and low voltage infrastructure being installed in all 8 of the buildings owned by the school district. When we put those out to bid last month, I believe we voted on it in my last presentation. To get those started, we only had 5 of the 8 bid, and that excluded the high school, Helen Howard, and Gray Wolf. So we put those back out for an emergency response to a small works roster. We're successful in receiving bids for that, put those out for award. And those projects were awarded over the last 2 weeks. Sequim High School is being done by one of the companies that's doing a couple other facilities. They're actually in the middle of completing that school already. So they really jumped on it. They want to get done and completed with it. However, because of the timetable on it, the other company is not able to get done before that, and we'll actually be continuing work into the school year, working at night. So they'll be working on shift in Helen Howard and Gray Wolf Elementary and after hours. The Middle school is almost complete, OPA is complete, the work in the district office is ongoing, the work in the transportation building as well as the central kitchen are ongoing for increases to wireless access, which should see a huge increase in the Wi-Fi and take care of some of the concerns that were brought up by student body along with staff. We have new infrastructure that's gone in for the clocks and intercom systems throughout the district. The actual intercoms and the clocks themselves are currently under selection, being worked on by the IT department. And as those get selected and put into place, we'll slowly implement those to the schools. So at that point, it's a matter of just mounting stuff on walls, grabbing some cabling above and bringing them down. So that should have no disruption, no disruption to classes through the school year. Last but not least, we've got two projects that are currently on the currently going on the street. One is the installation of the OPA HVAC. That equipment is expected here in the late fall or Q4 into Q1 of next year. So we will be getting the installation of that bid out, starting, well, the pre-bid is tomorrow, along with the multi-purpose room and office remodels for the business office and HR. So we're gonna go on. Any questions?
That's all.
That's all.
Questions for Chris? Great. All right, great, thank you for the update.
Some of you have never actually met face to face, so
Face to face.
instead of just seeing me on the screen.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a transportation report.
Yes, it's my pleasure to welcome our new Transportation Director, Don Hall, and in meeting you this evening in person, he's going to give his first report.
All right, welcome.
Welcome.
Good evening. It's very much a pleasure to be here. It's been a fun 3 weeks, I will tell you, and I am really energized by the energy that I'm feeling from the top down. It's been a great first 3 weeks of experience. So I just want to thank everybody for that. I'm really proud to be here. So to start the school year, myself and Kevin Heilman, who's my dispatcher, and I, we drove all the routes, all the general ed routes over the last 2 or 3 days. With that, one, giving me the opportunity to learn the routes a little bit more, or the district a little bit more, but also gave me the chance to look at the routes, how they were, and how they're running efficiently, and what we, some minor changes, and want them to be sure that they're running smooth on the first day of school. Nothing runs smooth on the first day of school. But we're gonna do our darndest to have transportation be as smooth as possible. So with that, with what's going on, we have one additional route that has been created to take on the additional Grayville students. This route is for the kids that are living just east of the traditional non-transportation zone. I don't use the term a walk zone because that implies that you're having kids walk. You don't have to walk to get there, but we will not transport them within that. So the name of that route is Magoo. So we're also giving it a number because we're going to be transitioning from names of routes to numbers of routes. And that will go into effect for the next school year. There's going to be 6 additional buses in the afternoon at Grayville Elementary. Students from the high school, middle school, and Helen Haller Elementary may be on the bus up to about 20 minutes before we're heading out on route. So when we pick them up here in the afternoon, we'll be very well. So we get there, the routes go. The eastern bound routes will be the first ones out because there's long ones out there and we need to get them out. We want Grayville students living in the traditional non-transportation zone will catch and disembark a transfer bus over here at the stadium lot. So both Grayville students that live in our non-transportation zone will walk to, or will get transported one way or another to the stadium lot. We'll get on the transfer bus there. I want them to be on the bus that they'll be riding in the afternoon, which is the Magoo route. So get them on that so they're used to just riding that one bus. What they need to do is they need to be at that lot at about 7:45. The bus will then start rolling in, offload the students that will be going to Helen Howard Middle School and the high school. And then we'll load the Grayville kids up. They want the Grayville. In the PM, Those students will be coming back from Greenville, being brought to the stadium lot, and it'll be about 3:20, 3:25 in the afternoon. And then we'll get home from there. We're gonna be also doing a daily count, so we can make sure, just what modifications that we need to do, either in that route or any of the other routes. Because going into school, we don't know exactly how many kids are, on the bus. One of the things is when you route, you're using information from last school year. Some of those students aren't gonna be riding the bus, they moved away, they graduated, plus any other students that are coming in that are new, kindergartners, others that moved in, other kids that have come back to us from other areas. So we'll be doing daily counts in that as well, and just making those adjustments. Also, the drivers have expressed some concern about some of ingress and egress there at Greenville. In the morning, or if they have been doing in the past, if I can put you around the back. In the morning, what we'll be doing is a compromise approach to meet what the drivers would like to see and some other folks. We'll be pulling in front to drop off in the morning. There's fewer buses and they'll be able to make that round, turn, drop safely off in the morning and continue in the school. In the afternoon, we'll continue to practice to go to the back of the school. And tomorrow the principal and I are going to meet to look at that some more and make sure we're doing that safely. So, are there any questions on that part?
Anything surprise you?
Has anything surprised you?
Long routes and
Well, Superintendent Nichols and I talked a little bit. There were some efficiency issues that we looked at and changed. We did have some routes that were crisscrossing and dropped off in each other's route areas. We're eliminating that and changing those so that one route will come one way, drop everybody in that area, instead of the bus coming and dropping it. So that'll help with times on the bus. It'll also help with our funding, because one of the things that our transportation allocation is based on is how efficient we are. How many students we have on the bus, how many, the distance between each stop, how many miles we're going. So we needed to look at the efficiencies, and we'll continue to look at those. So, there's still areas that we can improve and do better, but that's a lot of change. And so things like that will be phased in as we go.
And can I add, in talking with Dawn about this, our efficiencies as a school district are determined greatly by if you're a rural district or an urban district. And because we are rural, our students are spread out, our stops are not necessarily close. So for a school district like us, the likelihood we'll ever be at 100% efficient, probably not going to happen at all, but we can get closer to that number. And he's working with us right now to see how that could happen. But routing software is one aspect of being able to do that most efficiently. So it's one of those things, takes money to make money. So we have to invest in looking at our routing software. He's got some great ideas that he's coming to us with. So we're in talks about that right now. And you may see that there is an expense that I do come and promote, because I know it's an investment for us to be pulling down more funding and serving our students and families with higher efficiency.
Any further questions on that? I am proud to announce that we have 2 new drivers.
Right.
This Saturday. One will be coming in as a regular route driver, and then one will be driving for us as a substitute. And we're going to be doing our best to continue to recruit and build our base and the folks that we have. So our in-service is August 30th, 31st. We've got some good training coming up, and hopefully have some fun as well. So appreciate it all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I have one question, I know we're a rural district, so this may be part of the answer, but do you keep like records on the length of time? What's the average length of time a student spends on a bus? Or
So there's not a lot of real official data, but kind of the average for the student that's on the longest can be an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half,
Mm,
especially in rural districts. I'll just give you an example. When I worked at Grove View State Park, my daughter, went to Prosser High School. She was on the bus 2.5 hours each way.
mm.
So some of our rural districts, you know, because of how spread out they are and things that to meet, just to get kids to and from. Sometimes you're on the bus for a little while, and we do our very best to shorten that up. But two, when they're looking at, because the STARS program that we have, they do the funding, the allocation formulas and things, really is not fair to rural districts. Because they don't take into the distances that we have to travel sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know that the legislature has been working on that. I've had the opportunity to talk to the outgoing president for WAPT chapter down ESD 113. So we've had the opportunity to talk to our legislators about that a little bit. I know that the superintendent, public instruction's office have been working on that as well.
That's great. That really is an important agenda item for the legislature. I just want to say that my son rode the bus all the time and he loved the bus. And I loved the bus because it made my life possible that he could be easily, and he rode up to an hour a day, you know, and that was in an urban area.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lifesaver for me. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
So one of the things I think that is real important to reiterate to parents too, is putting your student on a school bus to and from school. It's actually the safest way to get them there. It's the safest mode of transportation in the United States for our kids to and from school. Much safer than a parent taking.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So just to add, Don had spoken with me today and let me know that they are tracking to have new route schedules out on Wednesday. Okay, and give or take a couple days, because you know, you have things that pop up. So we're really looking forward to being able to do that. Secondly, we would like to ask that people have patience for the first 2 weeks of school. In SQUIM, the way that we start school, we roll grades 1 through 12 the first week, and then we bring kindergarten on the next week. And so when you're bringing on kindergartners, of course, we want to take the time to do all of the procedures really well and in a slow fashion, so it's learned. So give us a couple weeks to get that all learned and out the door. And then also I'd like to share that we are looking at those route times, and we just went through some of them today. I'm happy to tell you that SQUIM doesn't have anywhere near 2 hours of ride, so that's good news. And our longest routes are actually to Port Angeles for some agreements, inter-district agreements we have. So we're really tracking well, and the efficiencies that Kevin and Don are working on are really impressive. So thank you for that.
Good. Next, we'll move on. We have finance enrollment report, and I believe Darlene is with us online. Are you with us, Darlene? Not hearing anything. I saw her unmute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is that yes?
Yes, we hear you, Darlene.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. I had my earphones on because this is our last day of vacation, so there's a lot of activity downstairs. So I am not on video, so my video of my laptop doesn't work, but we're going to go over our budget status reports for the month of July. And so we'll start with our fund balance report. And fund balance report covers all 5 funds and through the end of July 2023. So we'll just go over and start with general fund. Our general fund ending fund balance is $1,788,838. Capital projects, 3,981,842. Debt service fund has $72,913 in it. Our associated student body fund has $461,106. And transportation vehicle fund has $1,162,266 in it. Keeping in mind that we have one more month before year end, and that will bring in a larger amount due to grant claims that we are trying to finish up, and our apportionment is one of the higher percentages of the year. So our ending fund balances will definitely look different by the end of August when we close out our books. All right, and let's go to our general fund activity report. Okay. Our general fund activity report is just a different breakdown of our general fund. And so it breaks down our revenues as well as our expenditures. And so you can see that our revenues are at about 86.77%. One of the reasons I wanted to point out, when we're budgeting and we had all of our ESSER funding, so the end of the 2021 school year, 21-22 school year, excuse me. We weren't sure, you're just budgeting all of your remaining ESSER dollars, even if you're not spending them all. So it looks like we're short of percentage of reaching 100%, but part of that is that you're projecting like every single cent that you'll get in as revenue. And our ESSER dollars would have skewed that a little bit, but you can see like our local taxes were at 99.5% of receiving all of that local revenue. And our community is always really wonderful about, being really responsible about their taxes and getting in their levy dollars. So that's why that looks like that. And our expenditures were right at the end of the school year. So you can see under encumbrances, we still have encumbrances that would look like they're for salaries and benefits, some bigger things that we're trying to make sure that we budget for before the end of August. And it leaves just a little bit in remaining, unaccounted for balance, but that will of course change when we get to August, when we start closing some of our open purchase orders that are for larger amounts, such as for utilities and for our Xerox machine leases, and some of those things where we have a large amount for the whole year. And then when we get to the end of the year, we close out those purchase orders and any remaining balance that wasn't spent on those purchase orders. So this balance number will change quite a bit along with the percentage. So when it gets to about this time of year, it's good for us to have this so that we don't, go a cent over our budgeted expenditures, but also then you'll see our encumbrances will look completely different once we're done with payroll and our expenditures for August. All right, and then our last report is our general fund expense summary by object. And this just breaks down the same expenditures in a different way. So you can see a breakdown of salaries, benefits, supplies, materials, contractual services, travel and capital outlay. Are there any questions about July budget status reports?
Questions for Darlene? Don't believe we have any questions, Darlene.
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and that's gonna bring us to our superintendent report.
All right. First thing I'd like to point you to is on the end of your agenda, there are a number of dates that are listed for you. And many of those are important back to school dates. So you'll see that coming up this Saturday from 10 to 1, we have the annual back to school fair. This year, the back to school fair will occur at the Boys and Girls Club inside. And in the past, we've been having it down on the stadium field, and so it's going back to its traditional mode to be indoors. Okay. There will be, of course, school supplies, services, community organizations, school personnel, considerable amounts of information. We're getting a school bus. We definitely would love people to come on out and thank the Boys and Girls Club and the community organizations that have come forth to help make this a reality. It's such a popular and well-serviced day. I'd like to let you know that August 28th and 29th are Timberwolf Days that will occur at the middle school from 1 to 5. So middle schoolers will have received word about which day they should attend based on their grade level. On September 5th, we have back to school nights for both Gray Wolf and Helen Haller. They are offset so that if folks want to attend both, they'll have the ability to get from one campus to the other. So Gray Wolf starts at 4 o'clock and extends through 6. And Helen Haller starts at 4:30 and will extend through 6:30. Also to let you know, our staff will be returning and coming together on the 30th. And we look forward to that. And then new teachers are tomorrow. And we are having a lunch for the new teachers, and you are all invited to attend cafeteria at 12 p.m. So we're really looking forward to getting down to business with them. And Erin, as principal of the high school, you have Link Crew that's on the 5th.
Yes, we'll have Link Crew in the morning. So that's our freshman orientation. We have a lot of 11th and 12th graders who are going to be trained on the 28th on how to mentor our incoming 9th grade students. So we'll do that in the morning. And then that afternoon from 2 to 7 will be our Wolfpack Day, where we invite students to come to campus, make schedule changes, go on campus tours, check out their laptops, get pictures, all the things.
Fantastic. Attached to the agenda is the link to an article about a local district, Peninsula School District in Gig Harbor, and their approach to cell phone use and social media app use. I would like to say that we have recommitted this year to the off and away policy that we used last year regarding cell phones. So the expectation will be that cell phones may come to campus, but they will be off and put away during the school day. And each school would have their own approach to how there might be allowances. For instance, I know at lunchtime at high school, students are checking their phones and need to do that. The reason I bring up the Gig Harbor article is because the Peninsula School District has made a very strong commitment to moving away from allowance of devices, and not just cell phones, the headphones, apps, social media use. And they're doing so based on some reporting that they've reviewed that includes the UNESCO report about social media and device addiction. And I would like to bring to you as a board that I am concerned about addiction with devices and social media use. And these reports are ones that we need to be looking into. So through this article, you can get to those reports. And I would like to ask that you do take the time to read them. It's really important that we're thinking with our students and with our staff about what could be best. And I see a lot of students with us tonight. Welcome. And we're going to be asking for student input about their experiences with this. And I know that Peninsula School District did the same, and they got some very interesting and insightful responses from the students about what their experiences are. So Off and Away will exist again this year. We're going to stay steady and committed, but I think it is time for us to talk about, is it enough? Is it the right direction? And what should we be doing next? School attendance as a priority for next year. I just wanted to let the board know that we have committed as an administrative group that school attendance is one of the priorities that is going to give us the best liftoff since COVID times. We were definitely concerned in having students get back into school. But now it's time to really double down on students being at school regularly, on-time arrivals, working hard toward that end, but doing so in a supportive way, not a punitive approach. So I happen to be on an OSPI webinar today about how ESSER funding has been used successfully across the state, and how even though the money is no longer going to be there, what are the aspects that were so successful? The state is now looking at potentially finding ways to fund them, or telling us local educational units, you should prioritize finding a way to fund these things. Well, attendance was one of their priorities, and so I know that we're tracking in the right way. Healthy meals. We also are involved in CEP, the Community Economic Provision for healthy meals for all students. Making sure that we have CTE equivalencies in our program. We've been working hard at that, and I commend Director Flater and the CTE staff for all of those efforts. Evidence-based interventions. We used ESSER money last year for high-dose tutoring, and we saw very good response to that. So we are incorporating that again this year. We also had OSPI announce today that on-time graduation is one of their primary goals. And we have talked at the high school about earning credits on time every year. We know the freshman year is what some call the make it or break it year. It's the year where you see what the patterns are going to be. Success in your freshman year is critical to that on-time graduation. So we're going to prioritize that as well. And then substitute teacher preparation, orientation, making sure folks are invited to be with us here in the school district. And I'd like to put out a call to anyone interested in being a substitute teacher. We would love to talk to you more, especially answer questions if you have those, but also let you know how easy it is to get signed up with us so that you can participate with that. And also bus drivers. We do have some new cards that have been made up that you can see tonight that are cards we hope to get out and disperse to people who might become a school bus driver and understand it's paid training, and we're ready for you. We had 2, as you heard, over the weekend, but we'd love to have many more. So our priorities that we're starting with, engagement, attendance, I think are well aligned with our state and what their efforts are as well. And I feel like we're out of the gate with a strong administrative response. And we look forward to welcoming the teachers and having their ideas come to fruition around these priorities too.
Can I ask a question about the attendance? I'm just curious in terms of the, the notion that the ESSER funding being applied to attendance measures. And what are those funds? Is that basically for additional staff to work with families and students to make sure that to track down students who aren't coming to school, or what is it that those funds are spent on?
So the number one programs that they talked about today were having awareness as a school administration and staff about the moves you can make to really support attendance, getting to know your families and what they need on a one-on-one basis instead of generalizing, making sure that we have mentoring or other supports in the schools to reach out to families directly and reach out to students. Because oftentimes when a student's not coming to school, there's something they need to be asked so that it elicits their reasons, and not to assume, and having programs that were guaranteed to teach strategies of communication so that there isn't an intimidation or a feeling of if you finally do come to school, you're going to run into somebody questioning why you haven't been there so long. It's really about supports instead of being punitive. So we did take a lot of notes around what those school districts are doing and can reach out to them. OSPI is helping to get those connections made. And then I'd like to actually turn over my report to Director Jeffries as our General Assembly organizer, because he does have an update and resources for us tonight. So,
Right, this slide here just kind of gives you an overview of the timeline. We are marching forward to the next legislative session. General Assembly is the 23rd, 24th, where we will vote, where Washington membership will vote on both positions as is and or amended, or they'll actually vote some of the positions down possibly. so that September 27th to the 16th, we'll get a final revised platform list, and then we are to, one of our jobs will be to prioritize what we think the top positions should be and send them into WASDA so they can come up with their top priorities, which have been fairly consistent the last few years. It may be that our top priorities aren't necessarily WASDA, but there may be some things, like, for example, if there is no position about STARS funding for the buses. We, because as a rural district, we may say, well, that's gonna be one of our priorities. Even though it's not on the WASDA list, that's one of the things we wanna talk to our representatives about. So it just depends on how that goes. November 3rd, they'll announce all those priorities. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This is just a kind of an overview for what General Assembly is. Not all 295 districts send a delegate to General Assembly, unfortunately. But hopefully with the hybrid model that they have, and some of this will be going on in Spokane and some will be virtually, that the number of delegates will be increased. And we're gonna look at bylaws, permanent positions, and legislating positions. Sometimes that gets a little confusing, but that's what we're gonna be looking at. And I, as your delegate, will be voting on. Go ahead to the next slide. This has already been put out and it's on the agenda, so anybody can look at it. And I sent this out earlier to you. I suggest it's only 95 pages this year. It has been 200 and 300 pages in the past. So I would hope that you would go through it carefully, one by one, and take a look at what those positions are. My intent is to go ahead and if the WASDA's committees have recommended passage, that I would vote yes. Unless I hear from you, no. That I can't know that, you know. There will be some positions that it might be, as you read through them, you go, no. You know, or yes, for sure. This is really, really important to us. In fact, it's so important, I want to speak to it. And there is a way that you could speak to a particular resolution at the General Assembly, or you could type up a little blurb for me to read. But I want all the board members involved in that. I have a couple tools for you. This one, I put your name. The only edit I made, instead of director 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I put in first names. You can use this to, this is all the things we'll be voting on. You can use this to mark it up and put yes, that you agree with the WASDA position, or no, or maybe a question mark. You know, like, we need to talk about this. We're not sure. What does this mean? Let's see, Tracy, could you go back up to the top and look at that very first one? Which is a little bit different. Can you enlarge it so we can see it better? Oh, do it again. There you go. Bylaws. This is a bylaw change where WASDA currently has weighted voting. So if the assembly votes 58% yes, and 42% no, or whatever, you can call 5 districts can call for a weighted vote. And the weighted votes run from increasing the votes from 1, or keeping it 1 for the very smallest schools, all the way up to 19 votes for the biggest school, Seattle. Sequim gets 2 votes whenever we wait, because we're down at that bottom end, 1,000 to 5,000. So we get 2 votes. I predict there's going to be a lot of discussion about this particular one. And I'm hoping or predicting there's gonna be some kind of amendment where it maintains the weighted vote, but maybe not such a drastic weighted vote. So we'll see. There are a lot of, I've seen a lot of impassioned postings of, ooh, vote no, this is a terrible idea. And vote yes, this is a great idea. So those are gonna come up. This is probably the most controversial one, maybe, that's gonna come up, but there's some others that will pop up. And we'll have to talk about some of these and decide how we're gonna handle. There's a weighted vote right now. And you can see we get 2. But Seattle gets 19. It's been used more often in the last few years. There's maybe a handful of times when it's reversed a vote. So it's an interesting dilemma. I'm not a historian, but the United States government, and maybe the Washington state government, we solved that problem by having a Senate where there's 2 people from each state, no matter how big the state is or how small. And then we have the House of Representatives, which is by how many people are in that state, you get more representatives. So California has a huge number of representatives in US Congress. And we have 6 or 8, something like that. I think Wyoming has 1, that kind of thing, because of their population. So it is a legitimate argument and something to think about. And there are 2 sides to the issue. So I will be sending you, as I find things, I'll send you some information. But if you all say, hey, that's a great idea, then that's, how we'll vote. Or how I'll vote, if I get a consensus from the board. But, no problem. By the way, if you don't send me anything back at all, I will assume that's a no vote. I mean, not a no vote, it's a non-vote. And therefore, I just won't consider it. And, or if you send me back some stuff and I don't understand quite what you're talking about, or it's confusing to me, I'll send you an email, or I'll call you up on the phone and say, hey, what does this mean? But I plan to vote as the board tells me to vote. When there comes to an amendment on a proposal, I'll just have to vote the best I can get a sense of how you guys would vote. Because there won't be time to do some kind of survey.
Right, and I think that's in part what we've delegated
Right.
you to do as our.
I don't feel comfortable just voting the way I feel it without getting some feedback from you guys. Because I know it's rare that you wouldn't agree with me. But it has happened a couple of times. But that's fine, so.
Well, it's helpful, and I think giving us some guidance around the WASDA Ledge Committee recommendations. That gives us sort of
Yeah,
a
they're in,
base template, if you will, to know which ones we should.
they're in the handbook and, do pass. And there is some rationale, but they don't give like the pros and cons.
What date would you like?
Oh, I suggested, I suggest September 1st. For the start of school, things get a little crazy. That'll give you time to look at it, hopefully. And September 1st, then we could discuss it a little bit more at the September 5th meeting or whatever. September 6th meeting, if whatever that comes up to be. But definitely I need them so we'll communicate somehow, how you guys think.
And of course, we have some items that the swim school.
Oh,
board
yeah, we
has
have,
submitted. and-
we as a board voted on 4 items. 4 proposals that were submitted, accepted, and all 4 of them have a due pass. So
So you
I,
don't need any feedback from us on those.
those 4,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
congratulate us, pat us on the back.
Well, we might want to, that might be something, I mean, assuming that those are passed at the WASDA conference,
Yeah.
if they are passed. It's also something we may want to consider as we do our ranking. You know, if we have ones that swim initiated.
Right.
We might also
Or-
want to try to push those up on the rank.
Or maybe they go on our list, that these are the priorities of the Squim School Board,
Sure.
these are important.
Okay. great.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be looking forward to, more information about the General Assembly, and you have some homework to do. So, excellent. Thank you, Superintendent Nichols.
I was gonna say one more thing about that. I'd like the superintendent's feedback too, if possible, because you view things through a different lens than we do. Because, these are important. But Don mentioned the stars. And I'm not sure there's anything about stars. They mention transportation a lot of times, but specifically nothing about stars. That may become a legislative priority for us. And because you know about it, and we wouldn't necessarily, unless you tell us.
I guess I do have one other question, Director Jeffries. On the items, does he have the ability to speak in favor of items that they need as they're proposed? So is it your plan to, on the items that SQUIM has proposed, do you anticipate initiating, speaking in favor of?
I would, I would do that. I assume maybe, I'd request maybe some feedback on what you would like me to say, or if you'd like to speak. Trouble with the General Assembly, you can't exactly predict exactly what time of day that one would come up.
Right.
So if there's something you want them to hear, if we had it written out so that you couldn't be there,
Talking points.
I could still give them, but if you're there, I could turn the credentials over to you for that particular time. And you could speak to talking.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Okay. Good. All right. With that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to 9.01. We have the approval of budget resolution. Do you wanna speak to that first, Superintendent?
As you heard tonight, I do think that we've been tracking our finances in a way that has been looking ahead. And this budget has pulled together all of the best information we have, including priorities that came from as long ago as the listening tours of last summer and fall. So I do feel that we're moving ahead in a way where we have prioritized that our personnel is competitively paid. We are making sure that we have services available to students, curriculum that is always being reviewed, and we know that we need a cycle that's going to fulfill for the next years to come. And then also looking ahead to expenses outside of the general fund, including capital outlay for things just like we heard tonight, right? We know as we did our tour for the board retreat, our facilities need a lot of attention. And I think our transportation director would tell you, we also have attention that's needed there for our fleet. So I do feel the general fund budget really does address the educational scope that we need, while also recognizing we need to look outside of it for other things. So I think the resolution does a nice job of that.
Thank you. All right, so what I would ask for is start off with a motion.
I move that we approve the budget resolution number 8, 2022, 2023.
We have a second.
I second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Do you have any discussion or questions? was there any final tweaking on that enrollment number that from last meeting to this number? We're still
Nope.
pretty confident with that?
Yes, and we have done, talking to our principals about how registrations are coming in and what is occurring, so we are going to be sticking with that number.
Okay, all right, great. Well, we took a look at that. Any other discussion?
No, I was just gonna say, in spite of the name, I just double checked. 2022-23, it is the adoption of the 23-24 budget.
Yeah.
So we're okay, I mean,
I'm seeing,
I had that same question, so yeah, I double checked as well.
So even though it's next year's budget, it's this year's number. I don't know if you could hear that, but the timing of when the resolution is passed is still within the current school year. So while the budget is projecting for the coming year, we haven't entered that space yet.
we're seeing we're seeing the 22-23.
Except at this top.
the name,
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, based on resolution.
but it's the date that we adopted, I guess.
Well, it's because it's still being adopted during the
Because it's in
22-23
August.
school year.
Just a little confusing.
22,
Yeah. Anything else? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. And then we will move on to a first reading of policy 1400 meeting conduct. And this also has a connection to our start time as well.
Yes, this is here with you now because we do have a policy that needs to be changed to update for our 5:30 start time. But also, WASDA just recently put out an update to the policy as well, so it makes sense to do that in one fell swoop.
So I'll be looking for a motion to move this on to a second reading.
Move that we move policy 1400 regarding meeting conduct forward to a second reading.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I noticed in this one that they're still blank for times and where they'll be at and stuff, which I think is supposed to be filled in for the approval, I'm assuming.
Yes, when it comes back for second reading, we will have that filled in.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor of moving on for a second reading, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. And it's gonna bring us to update for procedure for 1400 meeting conduct, order of business and form.
The procedure now has a portion that just outlines how audio recordings of the meetings need to be not only created but maintained for up to 1 year. And we currently already practice this by having our recordings video included on our website and available archived for multiple years. So that is the inclusion that WASDA has recommended.
Yeah, we're looking for, is this just gonna be an approval of the procedures? Is that what you're asking for on this one?
Yes, because it is a board level 1000.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve.
Move that we approve the update to procedure 1400 regarding meeting conduct, order of business and form.
Okay, do we have a second?
Also,
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. First reading of policy 1440, regarding minutes.
This has a simple legal reference change, and that's the only change to this policy.
Okay, and ask for a motion to move this on for a second reading.
I move that we move the first reading policy 1400 minutes for 1440 on for second reading.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. It's gonna bring us to the September fifth, board meeting. And you wanna start, and then I'll kind of make a recommendation.
The September 5th board meeting is planned for a Tuesday because of course Monday is Labor Day holiday. But Tuesday also is the eve before school starts, and so we do have open houses at several of our campuses, and we want to make sure that not only you, if you have children, might have the ability to access those events, but also it might be good for the board members to be out and about rather than in a board meeting on that evening. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Also, because of some of the events that will be happening at the schools, finding an alternative spot to hold the meeting. We certainly have discussed, Eric and I, areas that we can do that, but we also thought the community events might be of interest to you all.
And we don't have any plans for needed, board reports or anything on that day.
Thank you for that. There are no scheduled board reports for September 5th.
So is the proposal to cancel the meeting or to move?
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we, if it's not gonna hinder district operation in any way, I'd like to suggest that we cancel that meeting and gives the board an opportunity to be out in the schools. And if it doesn't hinder operations, that's my recommendation, if the board is in agreement. And then that way we can be out in the schools, and anything we can add on to the next meeting, we'll just take care of it then.
I do not see that it would hinder our operations.
You need to make a motion to do that,
We can,
or can we just do it by consensus?
yeah, we can do it by consensus too, but I actually, even before an official motion, I'll just say, do we have any concerns or any discussion or questions for Regan?
Just as if changing a board date meeting, canceling it, does it require a motion? Because we adopted the calendar by vote.
Yeah. We're all here, the motion is fine.
I mean, I would just think, just for making sure we're all are.
Yeah, there are sometimes certainly circumstances at which, and it's happened in the past where sometimes an emergency situation where a meeting could be canceled, just, if you're discussing, myself or the superintendent, but in this case, it's obviously not an emergency, and we can just make that decision right here, right now.
And I move that we cancel Tuesday, September 5th board meeting.
We have a second,
I second.
okay? Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
But still, I need your position ideas by September 1st.
Mr. Jeffries.
Contingent upon.
Sorry. If it's not in, we meet.
That would be now, we consider that an emergency meeting.
That would be an emergency.
Special meeting.
That would be an emergency.
You are on, you're on Director Jeffrey's list, putting your name on the chalkboard.
That's right.
Back when they had chalkboards in the day, right? The whiteboards.
Chalkboards and whiteboards and smartboards. So, I covered the whole range.
Really?
You bet.
Look at you. Sorry. Okay, I believe that's our last bit of business, so with that, we'll go ahead and update, assume we'll update the schedule of meetings to reflect September fifth. And that's gonna put our next meeting, our next regular board meeting at September 18th, I believe. So with that, we will adjourn. Thank you.